Congo knows about struggle. Of course it does. Ebola right now, insider corruption, child labor in cobalt mines, as you saw from CNN's reporting earlier this year. Now, a new book looks at the country's resilience, great word, especially in its fight against corruption. Congo Stories is written by Prendergast. He is the founder of the Enough Project, which works to end crimes against humanity, and he is here with me on set. And thank you so much for bringing along, as well as your book that is released in early December. You know, the book begins with this horrific anecdote from Honorata, and she talks about being kidnapped, essentially, held for several months, obviously the sexual violence unspeakable, and then disowned by her own family as an irony, as not being honorable enough because she had been raped. You talk about resiliency, and yet it's a story that's all too common. You know, Honorata says that it is greed and grievance and that she wants peace for Congo. But John, in what you've learned from Congo Stories, what is the hope? We talk about resiliency, but what will change?
I think Honorata is a perfect example, almost a symbol. You know, here's someone whose life has been shattered, just as Congo, through its history of massive exploitation by the outside world, has been shattered. Yet she makes this comeback, this incredible against all odds comeback, and becomes a role model and a teacher and a person who can inspire other women who have experienced similar pain and devastation and help them rebuild their lives. And similarly within Congo, people are fighting against this history of exploitation and against dictatorship and against stolen elections, against massive human rights abuses, and saying enough is enough. We want to change the course of our country's destiny, and sacrificing their lives to see that change. And people outside, all throughout the international system, especially young people in the United States, students, are excited by that mission, are supporting them in their mission.
And one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on was to talk about how our phones, our laptops, electric cars are unfortunately intimately connected to the horrors that Honorata has gone through in her life. This is, at the bottom line, it's about greed. How are we unwittingly really contributing to this?
It's amazing. I didn't realize the extent of it until we dove into the history, but for 500 years, Congo, whenever America, even when we were the New World, and Europe would advance technologically, they need raw materials. First human beings for the plantation economy, then all of the natural resources, the raw materials that go into the products that advance our civilization. So throughout this 5-century history, Congo has supplied our progress, but done so in a way with extraordinary cost to the Congo, because the United States and Europe had just gone in and taken what they wanted over the course of this period. And one of the latest chapters, of course, is cell phones, laptops, and any other electronics product you can think of, where the key raw materials in these devices originate in the Congo. And so, of course, people just went and took it, companies, multinational companies, neighboring governments, conniving with warlords and other unsavory characters in Congo, and strip mined and extracted and smuggled these minerals, have been smuggling these minerals out into our cell phones and our laptops. Companies making billions of dollars a year off of this trade in human misery.
I want to get to the point, and you know, this has a celebrity angle. Ryan Gosling, who has been committed to doing this for several years, he didn't just come into this. You'll see some of his very provocative pictures now, and he was trying to document this with you. How important is that advocacy from somebody that is so well known? And I ask you this question because so many people feel helpless. Like, what does what's going on in the Congo have to do with me right here? I mean, many of us saw it in the CNN report earlier this year, where we proved that child labor was being used in the mining of cobalt that is integral to electric cars right now. But really, what can we do? I think that's why Ryan Gosling kind of got involved with you, right? Because he thought he could do something to change.
It's kind of exciting, I think. You know, that people like Ryan, like George Clooney, like Angelina, you know, they've dedicated much of their adult lives now to taking the spotlight that shines on them and redirecting it on these countries and these people who have no platform, no chance to tell their story. And when they do, millions of people suddenly learn about an issue or a situation that they didn't know about, and many of those people become active. And the more voices that are calling on companies to pay attention where they're making their money, that it's not acceptable for us as consumers of a cell phone that the companies that we buy that cell phone from don't pay attention to where they get their raw materials from. And it forces a behavioral change and supply chain change on the part of these companies. And they also, with these celebrity help, people who become active on these issues can also change government policies where regulations can be established and force transparency in the supply chain, and that's exciting.
And in this book, Congo Stories, I have to leave it there, but I will say there's an anecdote as well about what Steve Jobs did. You know, now the head of Apple, the former head of Apple, who's now sadly passed away, how he was one of the first to really look into this and was very honest about what his company could and couldn't do to see this through. John, thanks so much for coming in. The book is Congo Stories. Appreciate it.